Hello and welcome. I'm Rik Glauert and here's what happened this week. Ching-te is just days into his job as Taiwan's president and he's facing two huge tests of his leadership, an angry China and growing discontent domestically. I bring you this report on the challenges facing Lai. A display of its disapproval. China sends military ships to surround Taiwan just days after the island nation inaugurated a new leader. Beijing claims sovereignty over the self-ruled country and sees its new president as a dangerous separatist for espousing Taiwanese democracy. These drills, Beijing says, a punishment for Lai's inauguration speech.
我们也要向世界宣告，民主自由是台湾不可退让的坚持，和平是唯一的选项，繁荣是长治久安的目标。
Despite winning the presidency for his Democratic Progressive Party, or the DPP, Lai now faces a hostile legislature in the hands of more China-leaning opposition parties. They took their seats weeks before Lai's inauguration and have been rushing through controversial reforms that would allow Parliament to investigate government officials and citizens, which leaders of main opposition party, the Kuomintang or KMT, say will bring greater accountability.
What we want to achieve is to, as I said, to consolidate and refine our democratic system. So we wanted to say a better check and balance, a more balanced executive versus legislative power.
Disputes in the chamber have descended into violence. Lai's ruling DPP accuses the opposition of stifling debate and not following parliamentary procedures, and say the reforms could make Taiwan more vulnerable to Chinese aggression.
All these pro-China legislators who visit China pretty often, they could initiate this kind of investigation and putting some sort of pressure on people who dislike China. So that's why I think the democracy might break with this bill.
Public opinion is also split. There have been large street protests supporting both sides of the legislature. And the Chinese military drills, continuing for a second day, have put this sensitive region on edge.
Lai has a very difficult task, but the first year I'd expect him to be very severely tested, and I guess what he needs to do is to show both people in Taiwan and also the world that he's able to handle stress, that he's not going to crack under pressure.
Lai is sticking to his guns and refusing to flinch in the face of Chinese aggression. He's promised to push ahead with bolstering national defence, putting Taiwan's resolve on display. But with his leadership facing challenges both at home and abroad, less than a week into the job, this new president is already having to prove his mettle. Chris Ma and Rik Glauert for TaiwanPlus. Over 2 days of war games, dozens of Chinese boats and planes encircled Taiwan. And as John Van Trieste reports, this could be just the beginning of more large-scale exercises.
请你立即调整航向，如执意进入我24海里临街区，我方将采取驱离行动。
Taiwan's Coast Guard sends a warning to a Chinese ship taking part in what Beijing says are exercises meant to punish Taiwan. China claims Taiwan, and for the third time since 2022, has surrounded it with warships. This time, it's unhappy about the recent inauguration of President Lai Ching-te, who it sees as an advocate for Taiwan's independence. President Lai, in just his first week in office, has struck a defiant tone.
我会和国军弟兄姐妹站在第一线，共同守护国家安全。此时此刻，国际社会正高度关注民主台湾。 而面对外在的挑战与威胁，我们会持续捍卫自由民主的价值，守护区域的和平稳定。
Taiwan's military has set up a response center and sent fighter jets to enhance naval defense. It's also condemned China's moves.
它就是要达到它所谓的地区上认为他们有主控权。 那这是非常不明智的行为。我们绝对不是一个麻烦制造者，但是大家可以看得出来，今天的麻烦制造者就是中共。
Like previous drills, these Chinese moves have had a limited impact on civilian life. Chinese ships have stayed over 24 nautical miles from the coast, outside Taiwan's contiguous waters. But some military analysts worry these drills may not be like the maneuvers Taiwan's grown used to.
蛮类似全面大规模入侵的可能的假想太一样的一种演习，所以它包括可能会需要夺取制空权、制海权、制电池权，甚至制太空权。
And it isn't just Taiwanese officials on edge. Japan's chief cabinet secretary says Tokyo and allies like the U.S. will remind Beijing of the importance of stability in the Taiwan Strait. And the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command says it's important to take the Chinese president's order to be ready for an invasion of Taiwan by 2027 seriously. But it says a war is not imminent and is avoidable. Still, China's ongoing exercises suggest tensions in the Taiwan Strait are not going to ease anytime soon. Kama Xu and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
It's now been 5 years since Taiwan legalized same-sex marriage, becoming the first country in Asia to do so. The landmark legislation was heralded as a massive win for human rights and has since changed the way people here think about its LGBTQ+ population. I report on courage and acceptance in a small community on Taiwan's east coast. Married couple Ulsan and Basagalang run this bed and breakfast in a small indigenous village on Taiwan's picturesque east coast. They enjoy the slow pace of life here. But when they were younger, the two gay men both moved from this area to big metropolises more accepting of LGBTQ people. After years away, they're now happy to be back where they're from.
其实我们也遇到很多，还是会觉得那个两个人一定有一个人要叫老公，一个人叫老婆。但是我觉得这都很正常，因为本来就需要先认识，然后在很多的观念上。 或者是相处上，我觉得他就会一直走在很健康而且很好的方向。
The couple's life is a far cry from the clamour that surrounded their wedding, held just after Taiwan became the first country in Asia to legalise same-sex marriage in 2019. Ulsan and Basagalang made headlines as one of the first gay indigenous couples to be pictured wearing their traditional attire to tie the knot. Indigenous Taiwanese tend to be more religious and put an emphasis on traditional values like a nuclear family with heterosexual parents. Small rural communities like this one tend to be more conservative, and they were less likely to support LGBTQ rights. But in the 5 years since Taiwan legalised same-sex marriage, acceptance of sexual minorities has increased dramatically. It's a similar picture of growing acceptance across Taiwan, boosting the country's image as a beacon of liberalism in Asia and fostering a local LGBTQ culture industry. But rights activists say attitudes here have reached a plateau and more needs to be done to improve equality.
We see the number kindly have rise a little bit, but stopped for the past 3 years. So we're quite looking forward for another anti-discrimination law or more things done by the government and the civil society to promote our society become more and more friendly.
In Ulsan and Basaganang's village, the benefits of rising acceptance are clear. Free to be themselves in the community, they now share their business knowledge with other indigenous entrepreneurs, invigorating culture and tourism in their small village.
我觉得蛮好的。我觉得这样子的话，如果本地的年轻人能够留下来自己创业，他们才能够更认识自己的部落。
Ulsan and Basagalang pushed past fears of discrimination to have the wedding the way they wanted, breaking through the barriers of being a double minority and making history in the process. Living out and proud has changed not just their own lives, but is now also transforming their rural hometown. John Su and Rik Glauert for TaiwanPlus. Taiwanese gymnast Tang Jiahong has already bagged 3 gold medals in international competitions this year. Now he's getting ready for the Paris Olympics. Leslie Liao met him at one of his training sessions in Taipei.
Swinging from a horizontal bar, flipping, turning, and performing stunts mid-air is already hard enough. But to be one of the best at it in the entire world is another thing entirely.
我是唐家宏， 那我是台湾体操单杠选手，那我的绰号是猫王。
Dexterous, agile, and with cat-like precision. That's how Tang Jiahong gets his nickname. He's a world-class gymnast.
国际上他的单杠呼声特别高，就是因为他的整套编排变化性最大，就是嘉宏。
Tang is a gold medalist at both the Asian Games and the Summer Universiade. But now he has his sights set on the Paris 2024 Olympics. He's qualified for the Games and he's raring to go.
也就是我希望可以把平常就是在家里训练的整套实力可以呈现给全世界看，然后也让全世界知道说台湾有一个很顶尖的单杠选手。
Tang has dedicated his career in part to showing Taiwan to the world.
也希望大家可以借由我认识到台湾，认识到台湾体操。那台湾是一个非常好的地方。
Tang's journey began when he was in kindergarten. He was diagnosed with mild ADHD, and his father turned him to gymnastics as an outlet.
体操一直以来都是我快乐的一个根源。从小开始接触体操跟训练，其实都是可能体操带给我的快乐，训练新动作啊。那从失败中学习。老师，我觉得可以先不要接，就是反正就练爬。
Tang has been a gymnast his entire life and has excelled at it, but his impressive feats came at a price. By the time he got into college, he'd had elbow surgery 3 times. He's also gone under the knife for wrist and Achilles tendon injuries.
刚开始面对受伤或者是开刀，其实真的是心里会害怕，会怕回不到场上，或者是真的觉得自己不行了或者怎么样。但是我觉得对于体操热爱的初衷，我觉得这是让我坚持下来的动力。
这样子很好，这样子很好。
Even so, Tang and his coach aren't taking any risks as they train for Paris. To reduce the odds of injury, Tang doesn't land on his feet to finish his practice routine. Instead, he finishes each maneuver by slamming down onto a gym mat, letting his body absorb the impact of his fall. Over the course of training, this happens over and over and over again. Tang's sacrifice and caution have paid off. He's already won 3 gold medals at the International Gymnastics Federation's World Cup events so far this year. He and his coach hope to carry this momentum all the way to the top of the Olympic podium.
其实，在以赛代训的这种训练模式下，其实对于我身体实力，包括身体机能、整个能力提升的方面，有很大的经验值加倍这样子。
His coach has full faith in him.
以冠军为主下去锁定了，那看现在到底缺什么，就赶快补，因为他潜力我觉得是很够。到时候希望决赛票要买。
Tang Jiahong can pull his body weight into the air like it weighs nothing. He makes it look so effortless. But as is the case with Tang, nothing is as easy as it seems. Behind his success is a relentless desire to win at the highest level, and he'll do what it takes to get there, diving face first into his challenges. Howard Zhang and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching Here's What Happened. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally today, we'll leave you with some images of a rare tornado of fish spotted in waters off Taiwan's southern coast. I'm Rik Glauert, take care, and we'll see you next time.
For more news from Taiwan and around the world, download the TaiwanPlus app.